Oh, hi there. Glad you came along. Too fi or not too fi? That's a bit of a question that I had before I took this trip. Right now, take a look on my front porch. This is where I'm at. We are in the island of Sifnos in Greece, small town of Faros. Anyway, I'm not going to brag. Let's get to business. So, anyway, so one of the quandaries one will have is you are in the U.S. and you want to come to Europe, and if you're going to come for an extended stay, which I am, I'm here for anywhere from 2 to 3 months. So a phone plan that also included a way to get two-step verification was very important. Think about it. You've got credit cards, banks, whether you've got YouTube channel, Facebook, or any of those sites, almost all of them are requiring some type of two-step verification. So it's not good enough just to say, let me get a European SIM card, put it in my phone, activate the phone before I leave the US, and then boom, now I've got cell phone service when I arrive in Europe. Well, that's a good idea on the face of it, but think about it. Your phone, your normal US-based phone, is going to have all of your two-step verification requirements connected to your phone and to your phone number. So you get a new SIM card, you got a new phone number, and I'm not even sure if you have the SIM card and it's a European SIM card and you plug in an additional country code into the interface for the different two-step verification, well, whether it will even accept it, I don't know about that. What I did know is that looking into phone service for Europe, it seemed like Google Fi was a good option. You look at some YouTube videos and it looks pretty good. It says like, you can get Google Fi and you can make phone calls from Europe back in the US and it's free. It is as if you are calling in the US, and that's not quite how it's working out. And even though it does say on Google Fi's website that it is 20 cents a minute, well, guess what? It is 20 cents a minute. Plus, if you make a text and it's a 3-second text, that's 20 cents a minute because it rounds up to the full minute. So that's a bit of an issue. And I had contacted a number of tech support people. I asked them specifically, very specific questions. I said, okay, so I'm in Greece. It's part of the 200 countries that are included in the plan. And if I call from Greece back to the US, is that going to be considered a local call or is that going to be considered a long distance call? And almost every single operator I talked with said that it is going to be considered a local call and you will not be charged long distance. That was unequivocal. It wasn't until I got to Greece and I started making phone calls that I realized that, because I looked at the bill, you get the Google Fi app on your phone and you can actually see, all of a sudden I'm seeing these 20-cent charges. And so I'm saying, what the heck, what's going on here? And I called tech support and they explained to me that no, it may, if depending on the phone plan, it may be 20 cents a minute if you are calling from the US to one of those 200 countries. However, if you are in those countries and you're calling from those countries to the US, then you're going to be paying 20 cents a minute. 20 cents a minute doesn't sound too bad, and it's certainly affordable if you use it sparingly. And I would say compared to, we'll say, for example, AT&T, they have their international plan. It's called a Passport, and it's $10 per day. Well, let's say if you're here for 20 days, that's $200. Now, one caveat to that particular plan is that you only turn it on when you need it. However, this video isn't about comparing different plans. This video is really about giving you the skinny on, should you get Google Fi, how does it really work, and what did I learn about having Google Fi. I'm going to give you an example. One phone call I had to tech support took 59 minutes, and they charged me 20 cents a minute, which I thought was not real nice. One of the upper level support people did say, okay, we're very sorry you did not understand how the plan worked. Now you do understand how it works. We'll give you a credit for that, but that's the point. So she also explained to me and said, listen, if you want tech support, don't call Google directly from your phone. Use the app, and on the app it gives you a feature that allows you to request a call from Google to you, and then you can avoid paying that 20 cents a minute. I mean, I've got one phone call, 59 minutes, trying to solve an issue with DSL or some settings in the email settings, and it took basically 59 minutes, which is a real drag because you're in Europe and now you're monkeying around trying to make your phone service work that you had expected it to be seamless. So anyway, that's a bit of a reality. Again, I would say because of the two-step verification, it's probably fairly important to have your US-based phone number in Europe. And so what I ended up doing is I ended up taking a second phone with me, a cheap one. And this phone, I went ahead and got a local. I'm in Greece, so I got the one of the local providers is Cosmote, and they have a pay-as-you-go plan. I think it was $12 for unlimited call and text for 1 month, unlimited call and text, and I think it gave something like 5 gigs of data. So Google, which is on this phone, Google is $25 for their base fee. It's $20 plus $5 for taxes for their base call and text, and it's $10 per gig for data. So not the greatest plan for using only a Google Fi to use data in Europe. So I would say it's probably very important to go ahead and have a throwaway phone almost. This phone I've had for a long time. That said, I never unlocked it, so even though the phone is paid for and it's an old phone, it's an old Apple SE, the phone was unlocked, and so I did go to a local SIM provider. They put the SIM card in and it didn't work. It didn't specifically come on and say, oh, your phone is still unlocked. It just said this SIM card doesn't work with your phone. I had to call AT&T. Fortunately, I was able to get through. They recognized the phone and they were able to unlock it, and then I went back to the store. They put the SIM card in and boom, now I've got this for calling and texting. I use the data very sparingly, but only use it when I have to. Also, one very important thing to note: if you have a iPhone and you have Google Fi, it is not compatible with Wi-Fi calling. So if you want to call back home and you think you're going to use WhatsApp to call family or friends, it won't work. So that's a big bummer. That's something that, okay, it does say it on their homepage, but it's one of those things that until you really use it, you don't know really what you have until you dig in there. So hopefully this video is going to kind of clarify some of the nonsense and some of the surprises that I got, so that you can be a little bit more seamless. Note also that it is preferred if you get some of the newer phones, like an i13, for example, uses an eSIM. It has it has a SIM card tray, plus it has an eSIM, which is an electronic SIM. It's not a physical SIM, and so you can use one phone and actually use an eSIM with your local number, and then use a physical SIM card slot and put in a local SIM card from one of the local providers, and then you've got one phone with 2 different service plans, and you can just switch back and forth. I think that's probably a pretty good option. However, again, because that is a newer phone, make sure that if you are planning on doing that, if the phone is locked, you will not be able to come to Europe and put in another SIM card, because it won't work. So if you're planning on using your phone and it's a newer model with an eSIM in it, make sure that it is paid for. Or do what I did, which is I always keep a scrap phone kicking around just in case I break my regular one, and then I've got an extra one for a backup. And also, even traveling, if I damage this phone, I still have a second phone that I can pull out the SIM card, stick it in this, and it's an older phone, smaller phone, but I still have phone service without having to hustle to some store where God knows, I'm in, take a look where I'm at. I'm in small islands. You think I'm going to find a cell phone out here? I don't think so. What else? Okay, so Google Fi, if you have an Android-based phone, it will work with WhatsApp. So it is only exclusive to Apple phones that Wi-Fi calling is not available. So support. Okay, so Google, it's pretty cool. They have 24/7 support, right? Sounds good. So what's that support really like? It's not so good. Okay, so this isn't a comment upon who Google hires. However, it's you call support, and it's interesting. You know, you hear chickens in the background, so it's like they have people in a hut someplace in the middle of a jungle almost, and I don't care. That's not the concern. The concern is that if you call 3 different support people, you get 2 different answers, and so you're kind of confused. You're not real sure what the real answer is. So it's like they have contracted with individuals in these small little towns. They give them a script, and the bugger of it is that everybody seems to be reading from a different script, because you get one piece of information and then you call somebody else to get another piece of information, and it's only until you perhaps are clever enough or smart enough or lucky enough to get a supervisor, which is really hard to get, because usually they have to call you back, and then that supervisor might give you a little bit better information. But even those supervisors, I've probably talked with 2 supervisors, and unless you get one that's really privy and knows the whole system, it's difficult to get the straight up answer that I felt confident that I knew what I was actually doing, what I was being charged for. So the summary of it is, I like the Google Fi for 2-step verification. I don't use it for calling home. I don't use it for texting because it's 20 cents a minute. I'm using a local SIM card. I did not get the SIM card in the US. I got it when I came and I was in Athens, and I went to a local store and they put the SIM card in there. Don't leave the store until you see the SIM card working. Make sure it's worked, because you don't want to buy the SIM card, walk out of the store, get to your hotel and find out it doesn't work, and then you're leaving the next day. So you want to make sure that you've got the time, and I'll say that there was a fair bit of wait, so you're not going to go in 15 minutes you're walking out with a working phone. So plan at least 30-45 minutes depending on the time of the day and which store and how busy they are. I think the local SIM card again was about $12 with 5 gigs and unlimited call and text, so that's not bad, and so that's what we're using to make any hotel arrangements, calling any landlords or any issues, or the ferry, whatever. And it also does have 5 gigs of data, so if I'm not at a Wi-Fi hotspot, I am able to utilize the data on that phone. So I think that kind of covers it. And do read the contract, do read their homepage, and it does say a lot of what I'm saying is sort of written on their homepage, but it gets confusing when you start looking at YouTube videos and you hear some popsicle stick giving his explanation, and it's really wrong information. It's difficult to look at a YouTube video, and this is a guy doing a review on Google Fi, and you think, okay, that's the decision. This guy knows what he's talking about. He doesn't know what he's talking about. And then, on his little video, he says, when you sign up for Google Fi, use this number so that he can get an extra $20. So I would be quite suspicious of that, and it's not the way it appears. So hopefully you'll get a hold of this video before you make a decision. I'm going to also say that I could not find a cell phone provider in the US that encompassed everything that I wanted. It's like at this point technology isn't there with international plans with US service providers, so you are going to have to hodgepodge it and monkey around, and so what, you got to bring 2 phones, keep one phone as a backup in case you lose your primary phone. You can still take the SIM card, even if you can take one SIM card out of this one, put the other SIM card in, and it ought to work. So I think all that's good. So I didn't make videos to talk about Google Fi or YouTube, etc., etc. I've got an adventure to take, and I'll give you one last look at my lovely little environment. A little comment about Greece. Okay, so this is Sifnos, and this is a small island, and what's most unusual, we're here in the middle of June, and the air temperature is probably something like 78. Now when you are in the interior, it's probably closer to about 85, 89, but right now we're on the coast and it's quite temperate. It's most unusual. I would have expected it to be a lot warmer, so I'm very, very pleasantly surprised that you can go from the US in the summertime, or certainly in June, and come to Greece, and there's a beautiful cool breeze coming off the Aegean Sea, and I think it tends to temper everything. So thank you very much. We'll see you guys in the next video.